Rob Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and a pleasure and honour to follow such a distinguished and well-respected parliamentarian in making my first contribution in this House. I'd like, first of all, just to pay tribute to the maiden speeches that have gone before me, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The Honourable Lady for St Albans, who I thought was outstanding. My honourable friends for Mearn Valley, Stratford, Wakefield, and Rutland and Melton, which apparently does a good range in pies. I'd also briefly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, like to congratulate the Honourable Member for Glasgow South on his impending award from the Ukraine, which I'm sure is well deserved. Mr. Speaker, the theme for today's debate is Britain's place in the world, and unlike the doom and gloom of the Honourable Member for Dundee East earlier on, who has unfortunately left his place, Britain's place is assuredly more exciting, prosperous and more forward-looking than it has been for a generation. Last Thursday, the Withdrawal Agreement Bill passed through this House and made its way down that corridor to the other place for the next step in the process to respect the democratic mandate of the British people, not only in the 2016 referendum, but in last month's election. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, having thought briefly about Britain's place in the world, I got to thinking a little more widely about Wales's place in Britain. It may have escaped your attention, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but there are one or two more Welsh Conservative MPs this month than there were before. One or two more. And we've come a long way since the days of Owain Glyndŵr, when we used to burn down the houses of the English to drive them out of our fair country. In the 1390s, they said that the Welsh were revolting. Never heard such a thing. Indeed, no chance of that description, apart from potentially my honourable friend, the member from Montgomeryshire. We will never be described as revolting again. We are a happy and cheerful bunch of Welsh MPs, Mr. Deputy Speaker, committed wholeheartedly to Wales and its rightful place in a strong and prosperous and, above all, unified United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, in this maiden speech, I thought it would be helpful to point out for colleagues some of the features of my Delyn constituency, which was constructed in 1983 as a parliamentary constituency and represented in this place by Conservative Mr. Keith Raffan, who supported the attempt to oust Mrs. Thatcher by Anthony Meyer in 1989, and indeed the one by the Lord Heseltine the following year. So I think it's important, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to point out, for the benefit of my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, and the front bench, it will not be the policy of Delyn Conservative MPs to attempt to overthrow their leader. That having been said, it might have been a welcome thing for my immediate predecessor to do us all a favour and attempt to overthrow his. Speaking of my immediate predecessor, the Right Honourable Mr. David Hanson. It's been notable, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as I've spoken to new colleagues in this place, the amount of people who have said all the same things. They've expressed surprise at my being here in the first place, which I've not taken in any bad way or any slight on my abilities, but more in the fact of the respect and the admiration that people across this House had for David. It's been an interesting path, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I've heard so many people around these benches tell me all about the difficult times that they had during the election and the animosity that was on display during the campaign. And I can honestly say, Mr. Speaker, that David Hanson conducted himself with the utmost of respect and integrity throughout the whole process, and my hat's off to him. Mr. Speaker, everyone on both sides of the House keeps telling me he was one of our best. And I bumped into the Honourable Lady for Birmingham Yardley just before Christmas. She very kindly held open a door for me. I explained who I was, and she was very welcoming. Said that I was from Delyn, and I like David. He was one of our best. I felt compelled to apologise, Mr. Deputy Speaker. She said, no, not at all. Not at all. She said, it's just politics. We all understand the risks. And exactly the same words were used by David on that night 1 month ago. And I can honestly say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that I believe that his departure from this place was not in any way down to any shortcoming on his part. On the doorstep during the campaign, I heard 3 messages, the same 3 over and over. Get Brexit done, the first one. We're making progress. I've voted Labour all my life, but never again, and certainly not with the current leadership. Heard that a lot. And on that point, I'm a very big believer that strong government requires a strong opposition, so I would urge honourable and right honourable members opposite to pay heed to that particular point. And the third point was David Hanson has been an excellent constituency MP. They said it over and over. And, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I can only hope that I am able, over time, to gain the respect of my constituents that he had. I'll certainly be giving it my best efforts, and I'm sure every member across this House will wish him every success in whatever he finds himself doing in the next chapter of his life. I read back, Mr. Deputy Speaker, through his maiden speech from 27 years ago. It's a very interesting read. I picked up a couple of points, most significantly, mention of the support that he received from his family during the process. And I thought it was important to mention that. I felt exactly the same way, Mr. Speaker, despite my 15-year-old daughter being horrified when her school friends kept coming in saying, "Your dad's face is everywhere." Huge embarrassment. She was mortified, so I consider that my work as a parent is done. But I'm sure I can speak for everyone across the House, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when I say that it would be significantly more difficult for us all to be in this place without supportive husbands, wives and partners. And I pay tribute not only to mine, but to all of them who allow us the freedom to come to this magical place to try to improve the lives of our constituents. We are forever in their debt. Further interesting to note that in his speech he made reference to improvements required to the railway lines which run through my constituency, such improvements still being needed 27 years down the line. And I'll be looking closely at the current situation in Delyn and seeking meetings with the relevant ministers to see what we can do to improve the infrastructure and boost the local economy, as well as lobbying for our share of the love with the beaching project. Later on in this speech, he described how there were 6 Conservative MPs across the whole of Wales. Well, Mr. Speaker, what a difference 3 decades makes. Finally, the people of Wales are coming round to the realisation that if they want to effect real change for the better in their lives, if they want to be empowered, uplifted and thrive in society, then this is the party for them. I urge everyone across my beautiful homeland to remember that next May, when the elections for the Senate take place, Conservatives are the true party of the workers and indeed the party best placed to look after Wales's interests. Mr. Hanson's speech concluded and he was followed by a sprightly young fellow, at the time the Member of Parliament for Basildon, Mr. David Amos. I looked very hard, Mr. Deputy Speaker, through his speech and the now Honourable Member for Southend, and I couldn't find any mention at all of Basildon being made a city. Basildon's loss has undoubtedly been Southend. Back home, however, on to the present day, Delyn is made up of 3 main towns of Flint, Holywell and my hometown of Mould, along with more than 30 villages in a mainly rural society. Farming, therefore, plays a key part in constituency life, and I look forward to working with the farming community locally to help them to continue to provide the lifeblood of our economic and indeed nutritional needs. We also have significant factories and light industry locally, particularly Airbus, Kimberley-Clark and Kingspan, and even though Airbus in my neighbouring constituency of Allen and Deeside does employ 1,500 of my constituents, and therefore I look forward to working with them and the other local organisations to ensure Delyn is able to take full advantage of our excellent North Wales growth deal and the Northern Powerhouse planning being undertaken by my right honourable friend, the member for Rossendale and Darwin. However, let him be on notice that there is a growing number of Welsh MPs who will be beating a path to his door to make sure that our needs are properly looked after. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I could not be prouder to represent my home. I've lived there all my life, attended school at Ysgol Maes Garman in Mold, where I was proud to become the first person in my family to learn Welsh, a skill which I hold. It's one of my most valuable assets. Mi fyddai felly yn gwneud cymaint ag y fedra i gynrychioli pobl delyn hyd eithaf yn gallu. Mae problemau nhw o'r un fath a problemau fi. Dwi'n caru'r lle, a mae fy'n gobaith mwyaf ydy bod ymdrechion ni'n ddigon i adael farc ac i wneud bywydau pobl delyn yn well. I'll do everything in my power, Mr. Speaker, to represent the people of Delyn to the very best of my ability, because I'm one of them. Their issues are my issues. I love the place dearly, Mr. Speaker, and it's my abiding hope that my efforts are enough to make a mark, to make life better for the constituents of Delyn, and through that work to bring people together as we move forward to the next phase of our national story, as we truly do define Britain's deserved place in the world. Yeah!